What is up, friends? Hopefully, everything's going well for you. Late Night Dreamer Cypher, one half of the host here, Scott Brandt, Patrick. A lot going on. So, as we always do, have each other's back, which is one of those things that I highly, highly talk about and highly suggest that if you get into business, find a business partner that you trust and that you can rely on. So that way, if something happens and you can't do something, you've got somebody that's got your back that can come in and continue to move forward and move things forward and whatnot. So it's one of those things that if you're trying to do business on your own, it's a tough road to go because it's only you and your own self, and you're limited by your experiences and by your perspective. And so that may be a little bit of rocking the boat. And then the other thing that, just from what I've noticed, and it's something that Patrick and I have talked about, and this comes from the inner circle that we're part of for podcasting, which goes into a lot more than just podcasting. There's a lot out there that plays into other parts of your business. One thing that people don't realize is what Instagram's doing, the power of Instagram. So if you're trying to build a business and have that work for you, Instagram has talked about they're going away from static pictures to rewarding content creators for reels that are created. And so we did a reel a couple of days ago, and it was unique just to see the reach that occurred with getting in front of other people. For our following on IG for Two Native Sons, it's only 160 people that we have as followers, I believe. But this reel that I'd done actually got in front of almost 3,500 people. And these were 97% of people that don't know who we are. And so it's going with the time, finding those things that maybe you're not touching right now because you're scared and it's out of your comfort zone. But if you don't push your comfort zone and you don't shake it up a little bit, you're going to miss the boat. You're going to miss the available opportunities to expand and do something big. So when it comes to the world of podcasting and when it comes to content creators, I see a lot of people on social media that will end up having their episode drop for their podcast. And it's, hey, go check out the new podcast. And when I read that, I'm like, why do I want to go check out your new podcast? Why do I want to go check out the new episode? What is it that really is going to draw me in that I want to go check out what you're creating, what you're sharing? And so it's just very interesting just really to see. I would say honestly it's laziness when you have people that will be like, hey, here's the new episode of the podcast, check it out. Can you put a little more effort into it? Can you maybe describe what took place? What's something that stuck out? Maybe ask a question that's going to hijack somebody's brain and have them think and have them stop and say, okay, what about this question do I need to search for? What about this question do I need to go find answer wise to go and answer this question? And maybe this episode that's being dropped has an answer in here that could help me out to answer this question, whatever that is. And so it's a little bit more some work here, but it helps out really to stop people in their tracks, to have them think. But it's interesting too, because if you are trying to get onto podcasts and go and leverage the audience of others based on what they've built and get on their stages, go and listen to a couple of their episodes. So that way you know what the show is about. So that way you can figure out who that audience that is being spoken to, and do you fit the audience that's being spoken to, instead of I just want to get on every podcast that I can and just do it just because I want to. No, like you don't fit everybody. You don't fit everybody's audience. So you really need to do the work. And then when you're reaching out to go be a guest on somebody's podcast, give a couple bullet points of what value can you bring to their audience and why would that host want you on their podcast. And so it's very interesting with kind of the shift of perspectives. And when you start looking at things differently, you start seeing things differently, it really sticks out. And what you're trying to do really is find a way, because there's so much noise in the world of content creation. There's so much noise out there that's taking place. How do you separate yourself? What are you doing differently to show up and be in a different position? So, like Patrick, will look at what he's done with his insurance business. One thing that he does that a lot of other insurance agents don't do, and I don't see it a lot of times, is he'll actually go to home closings for his clients and be there with them as they close on their homes. And so Patrick has dug himself into doing things differently than all other insurance agents, doing things differently than showing up in different locations that a lot of people don't show up and don't do what they're doing. And if you want, you can go take a look on his Facebook profile. You'll see him being with individuals at their home closing. And so it's one of those unique things that as you're building and as you're creating, are you being an alchemist, and are you sharing your secrets? Are you sharing the steps that you've taken with other people to help them out? It's such a unique situation that we find a lot of people in society today, is this idea of, I don't want to share. I don't want to give up my secrets because XYZ, because somebody else is going to steal it. Somebody else is going to run with it. All right, cool. But this is the thing, though, that as you share and as you give information to others to help them out, there's going to be times where you're going to give everything, and it's going to be hard for somebody to stitch that back together to create the bigger picture. So they'll need your assistance, your expertise with what you're creating to bring that together. And so it's really baffling how many people really are this fact of, I don't want to share, I want to keep it exclusive, I don't want anybody else to know. And it goes into the point that there is really no original idea in the world. Um, Things have happened, and so we're at a point really that people are just recycling ideas, thoughts, and shaping it into their own and sharing that with their audience, with their tribe, whatever that is. And so it is unique in regards that a lot of people will quote things and then have it resonate as their own, when really everything that's shared and talked about really is just recycled ideas that we take and shape into our own. And so that's where it's the fact that there's no originality, there's no original ideas, because there's always something previous that we're just building upon. And so that's kind of the spot of being an entrepreneur. You get into a spot and you look at the consumption chain and you find that problem that the market is facing, that the clientele is facing. So you go look at the problem space, go create the solution, and bring it back to the problem space to meet the need of the audience, to meet the need of your clients. And so this is the thing, that with entrepreneurship, a lot of times it's ideas that we see a problem, and it's the fact of understanding the problem first, creating the solution, and bringing it back to fulfill that need within the problem space, whatever it is. And it goes into the fact here that things just get built upon. That it's a bridge. That it's one of those things that it kind of branches out, but it kind of goes off here on a rabbit down a rabbit hole and whatnot. So, but really, the one of the big things really with this rocking the boats and having to rock it a bit is the fact that as content creators, if you're dropping episodes, the other thing that I see a lot of times too is people are like, here's my guest and here's their bio. It's like, okay, that's cool. Somebody can go find that bio. What makes it special about this person that's coming on? What value are they giving? What value are they providing? And what is this going to do for your audience? What is this going to do for that potential individual that may come across your podcast? The unique thing with the podcast space is it's a zero sum game. That if somebody's listening to your content, they're missing out on the ability to listen to another piece of content. And so that's where, if you're getting into the content creation space, if you're planning on making a podcast, you've got to understand that you're not everybody's cup of tea. And so you've got to figure out a way really to quickly have it where you have that potential audience member end up really cutting themselves quick. So if they don't fit, you want to make sure that that's a quick, they don't fit, get away from them and whatnot. And then the other piece with this is this idea that, and this comes from Travis Brown. And so he shared this idea and had me thinking. And so it's one of these things that you look at it, see things differently and whatnot. And he talked about the idea of consistency is overrated. And so there's a lot of times, and I've talked about it, I've shared it before, where a consistency is the piece of the secret sauce to make it go and grow. But there's some things in regards here that when we constantly push this idea of consistency, if you push and you're not in the right mindset, or you're pushing because you need to put something out because of consistency, is it good content? Is it content that's going to help you grow your audience, to help you grow your tribe? Or is it going to be shitty content that ends up reducing what takes place with the growth of your tribe, with the community, whatever it is? And so it is one of those catch 22s sometimes on this one. But there's a couple things in here that really speaks and has you think differently. It really caught me. And so a couple things that Travis shares is first off, putting out crappy content, will it grow? Nope. Think about that. If you're constantly putting out content because you're this idea that I've got to be consistent, is your content bringing value to individuals? If it's not, what is that going to do for you? What is that going to do for your community? What is that going to do for your tribe? And so he taught, this is in the podcast space, but it is one of those things that if you're dropping episodes, content, and whatnot, and you get into this, it's got to be every week, this day, and whatnot, it may not need to. Maybe you're at that point where maybe you burnt yourself out. Maybe you're having a tough week and it's hard to show up and be mentally focused and be there fully present for your community. And so maybe that's where you have to step back and take some time to look at it differently. There's been times that I've done lives or I've done different things and I wasn't fully invested with it. I wasn't fully present there. And it was horrible. It was shitty. So it's one of those things that you've got to really account for yourself. If you're not whole and you're not healthy and you're not mentally all there and you're not fully present, it's going to be hard for you to show up and pour value and give value to your community, to your tribe. And so you've got to understand that everything starts with you. You're the center point for this. And that's the thing that we've talked about before, that with situations that are horrible, that aren't working out, you're 100% in everything. And so you've got to look, you're the denominator here in regards to things happening. And so if things are constantly happening over and over again, you're 100% in every situation. So you need to take the time, step back and look at yourself, do some deep dive and say, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to do for myself? How do I need to grow? How do I need to work on the mental piece? What do I need to do to grow internally? Because your internal piece impacts your external world. And so it is you, where you've got to look at yourself and kind of see what it is. And then the last piece here, hurry to put out an episode just to be consistent is it my best effort? And so think about that goes to this piece that if it's not your best effort, but it's consistent, what's going to speak more volume? What's going to do more good for you than what's going to really cause that harm and whatnot? So it's really very unique. And so the last piece here is surrender to the fact that you don't know where you're going yet and resolve to try everything you can until you figure it out. And so this is the thing that as you're growing, as you're doing the different things, a lot of times people aren't going to try different things because it doesn't feel comfortable, because it's something that they don't normally do. So they're not going to do it. But sometimes you've got to do things that are not in your comfort zone, that you might have to throw shit against the wall and see what sticks and what doesn't stick, and then move forward that way. And then pivot when you need to pivot and whatnot. But this is the thing, you don't know. And so go try it. At least if you try it and it doesn't work out, you know that didn't work out for you. That wasn't for you. But if you don't try, you don't know. So it's this whole thing of if you don't ask, the answer is no. But if you ask, there's that 50-50 chance that it's a yes. And so it's the same thing here. You just never know. And it's really, it's just a couple things. Really, this idea of trying to be perfect, let me make sure that it's 100% before I go try it. Screw that. Throw it against the wall, see what sticks. Keep moving forward. But then the other thing, and this goes because of the space that I'm in, because of being within the podcast realm and whatnot, what I see as a content creator, if you're doing that, show and share why somebody wants to check out this episode. Get people thinking. Don't just throw it out there and say, hey, new episode, check it out. Great, that's awesome. Goes back to being the lazy way to do this. Little effort, little work and whatnot doesn't hurt you, but hey, to each their own. It's just something that I've seen and doing some different things here within what we're doing with Legacy Digging, Two Native Sons, just shifting and whatnot, doing some different things. So hopefully, if you're a content creator, you're doing some different things, this makes you think, that you take the time to really say, am I putting my best out there? Am I showing up and putting out good quality, something that's going to give value to somebody, that's going to help somebody else out, or am I just putting this out because society tells me consistency? So just some things to think about. As Two Native Sons, we already know a lot of stuff that we do is very out of the box, unconventional, off the cuff. And so this is just one of those things, really, that sometimes you have to rock the boat. You have to shake it up and get people to think and actually get them to stop going down the normal path that they're used to going and have them stop and think and really say, okay, am I doing something that I need to do? Is there something that I need to adjust? Because if we don't get people to stop and think, people are going to get the same results over and over again. And life is not fun getting the same results over and over again if they suck. So, but yeah, ultimately, what we want to, one thing that we do ask is if you go check out Two Native Sons, the two is spelled out TWO nativesons.com. It's the hub for the community. Love to get your feedback. If you want to leave a voicemail when you listen to different episodes and whatnot, there's an option on there. Love to get your feedback, thoughts, things that stuck out, things that resonated with you differently, differences in opinions. Love to hear that. Bring that. That's what makes the world go around. This beautiful thing of having a difference in opinions and having a difference in how we see the world. So again, Two Native Sons, two is spelled out TWO nativesons.com. I say you go check it out, give us feedback, be part of the community if you feel as if you're a legacy ninja. But other than that, catch you guys later. Appreciate your support, love, and catch you next week.